Welcome back to Women in the Metaverse. And I'm about to introduce you to Cathryn Lavery. She is the founder of Best Self, and she is an entrepreneur, creator, and known as the Defi Queen. And I'm happy to have her share her wisdom with you. She has turned 5 figures into a 7-figure crypto portfolio through learning and implementing. She created a comprehensive crash course called Zero to DeFi, which she's going to share a little bit with us. And if you haven't heard of Best Self, which who hasn't, I just ordered a couple of her journals, relationship journals. So she's gone from that to now this. So welcome, Cathryn. And I am so excited to have you share and be a female disruptor with us today.
Awesome. It's so good to be here. Thanks for having me. I really wanted, and I'm excited to introduce more females to DeFi, only because, you know, I think this is the future. We're still so early. Even if you feel FOMO, the fact that you're on this webinar means you're early. So I want to jump in and explain like a little bit about me, how I got here, because I did not come from like an investment banking world at all. And I'm Cathryn. I was an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. I immigrated here with like $800 back in 2012. I've been here almost 10 years. I founded this company, Best Self, which sells paper products around productivity and how to be your best self. And I got into DeFi in 2020. So when DeFi pretty much started, as far as dApps and stuff I'm going to get into, that's when I got interested in it. Having, you know, I held Ethereum and Bitcoin back from 2016, you know, when it took a big dive. I basically didn't sell, not because I believed in it. I was like, well, why am I going to lock in these losses? Which now that I think about it, I should have locked in, because there's a whole crypto tax thing that we can talk about at the end of this thing. So I'm going to walk you through some slides, and then I have left time at the end for questions. My goal for you with this is to understand like what DeFi is, learn the basics, like why DeFi is the future and why it's not just for these, like, you know, a lot of crypto you hear about, you know, pump and dump scams and all this other things, but there's actually a financial ecosystem that you want to get into, because, you know, women couldn't have bank accounts until the 1970s. This is brand new for everyone. And so I want to get as many females into DeFi as possible. I'm going to walk you through the tools and how to get started. So first of all, you probably heard about Web 3.0. First of all, what is that? So Web 1.0 is just like read. So websites, email, it did one thing. And then you had Web 2. So that became like Facebook, where you were interacting with it, but you didn't have any ownership. And what Web 3.0 is, it's going to be owned by the users. So imagine Uber was owned by the drivers and the users, the people that made it, instead of one company owning it, and the people that make the product don't actually have any ownership. So Web3 is going to become this token economy that a lot of people are leaving Web 2 to get into Web 3 because there's so much possibility. And when Web 2 started, I'll show you, you know, Amazon, you know, didn't start at the very start of creating the internet. It became, you know, it came out after the sort of the bubble. It was one of the winners. And so in Web 3.0, we haven't seen like what the Amazon's going to be, what the Facebook's going to be. And so that's why it's so powerful, is because we're just getting started. We don't know what the winners could be. And like someone on this call could create that winner if you get into the ecosystem. So I believe that Web3 is going to eat the internet as we know it. It is just getting started. So many smart people are leaving Web 2.0 to get into Web3, including me, kind of, because I believe in it so strongly. Now, let's go back to the blockchain. Like, what is it? Why does it matter? So the blockchain is basically a digital public ledger. So it's a public record of everything that happens. Think of it like a public Google Doc where everyone can see everything that's done. You know, who did what, who changed it, when they did it, and it's all stored online, and it's duplicated across thousands of computers all over the world, which means, you know, I relate it to a Google Doc, but Google or any company doesn't own this ledger. It is therefore censor resistant. So it would be very almost impossible to take down a blockchain because it is duplicated in so many places, which is why the scene is so secure, because you can't delete or fudge information, and censorship or shutdown would be extremely difficult, which is why it is so powerful. And here's an example of it. So Etherscadan is the blockchain explorer on Ethereum. So if I knew what your wallet address was, I bet if you've seen on Twitter where people have their name.eth, you could put that in here. You could literally see every single transaction that they've ever done, everyone that they've sent money to, what they have in their wallet, and every transaction that's ever happened on Ethereum would be on here. So this is the example of the blockchain and how you would use it. Now, the first cryptocurrency was Bitcoin, or is Bitcoin. And so when we talk about blockchain, cryptocurrency is basically a currency on the blockchain that uses cryptographic proof. And we actually don't know for sure who created Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is the biggest by market cap, and then the little brother to Bitcoin is Ethereum, which is really what DeFi is built on. But I obviously can't introduce you to this without talking about Bitcoin. So I wanted to just sort of mention it, but I'm not going to dive into it here. But it was basically designed to handle payments without needing to involve intermediaries. And it's said that the creator of Bitcoin came up with the idea in 2008 after we had all the banking issues, and that whole crazy thing is like, how do we create a currency that is based on cryptographic proof rather than just trusting the banks, which nobody wants to do. So Bitcoin, if you think of it as a store of value like digital gold, where it's valued as much as people think that it's valued, and you can hold it in your wallet and feel that it's good. Ethereum, I like to think of it like the internet, where if you think of the internet, there's websites on it that create value. So Airbnb was built on the internet and became this huge business. And on Ethereum, you have basically a platform where you build on top of through smart contracts. And so that is why it's become such a powerful system, is because it's allowing for all of these other possibilities through smart contracts. So smart contracts is what Ethereum is made from, essentially, and it helps you exchange, money, shares, anything of value in a transparent, conflict-free way without having to involve a third party. So while a blockchain acts like a database confirming that transactions have taken place and who sent what and how much it costs, things like that, smart contracts are like if this then that. So if I place this NFT up for sale and this person puts an offer on it for this, then sell that to them and give me the money, sort of thing. So where if anyone's ever, for example, got a loan with a bank or bought a house, like how many middlemen it's like are involved in that transaction. There's usually, with a bank loan, there's like months of like paperwork. What do you have? What do you not have? With a house, it's like you have a title person, you have all these people in the middle of a contract that on DeFi, you don't have that, because they can basically, they read your wallet, they see if you have it, and then a transaction is done. And I'll walk you through some like dApps and loans and things like that. But essentially, you're cutting out all of these middlemen in a way that just runs through code. So if we think of a decentralized finance system versus a traditional finance system, like look at all the steps between it, and every single person in between you and the receiver gets paid something. So they take their little bit, because in the olden days, that's the only way that you could connect yourself with someone. That say you want to put your money somewhere, you want to make yield, you have to put it in a bank, and then they find a lender, and then they send it to that bank, and then they give it to the receiver. And so there's all these other people, whereas in DeFi, you can essentially, someone else paying their APR on a loan is your yield on your money. So now we don't need to involve all these third parties. So DeFi essentially turned Ethereum into a personal banking system. So if we think of traditional finance, people are in charge of the system. They process transactions. When you bank with a company like Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, you are allowing them to take your money and then decide what to do with it. And they will use that money for mortgages, for auto loans, for credit cards, whatever they see fit. And they will make a bunch of money on it, and they will give you like 0.25% on your money, and they will take the lion's share of that. Whereas in DeFi, there's no people in charge of the system. The system manages itself through smart contracts, technology, and not needing to pay this middleman. So instead of me putting my money somewhere and giving it to a bank, I put my money somewhere, it connects it with a lender that I don't know who they are. They're happy paying this percent. I want to make that percent, and nobody besides the protocol might take a small percentage, but you as the lender are really owning where your money goes and how much you make from it. So here's an example. So Lemonade is an insurance company in the real world, not in the metaverse. You can buy their stock, I believe. So they're an insurance company. Nexus Mutual is an insurance company, but it's on the blockchain. And you can see here that they got 480 million of funding. This is Lemonade. Nexus Mutual, 4.1. Lemonade have 567 employees, because every transaction, like I said, how many middlemen, how many underwriters, all that stuff need to go through this. They made 94 million in revenue. They grew 40%, which is great. But if you look at Nexus Mutual, they've made 20 million in revenue, net income of 18 million. Lemonade lost 122 million. So you can see how like the working with code and how efficient code can be for creating a product that is both easier for people to use and is generating revenue without, bloat, essentially. So this is just a really good example of two insurance companies, one on the blockchain, one in real life, that are completely doing things differently. And this is, I find this graphic, and I think there's even more options now. So you see like payments, infrastructure, stable coins, exchanges, like every financial system that you can think of in the real world, that is now being built on the blockchain, and you can take advantage of it without having to, pay someone to do it for you. So it's pretty legit. And I'm going to walk you through a couple of these that I use all the time. Now, if people are watching this and they're thinking, okay, crypto is so volatile. I don't know how to sort of trust that if I put my money into this coin, that it's not going to drop the next day and I'm going to have a hard time taking it out. That's where stable coins comes in. So again, when anyone mentions volatility to me, I think, okay, stable coins basically solves this. So you can, and stable coins are pegged to a currency. So for example, USDC coin is pegged to the dollar, and I'll walk you through a couple of different stable coins. But back in 2017, so the last big bull run, when you saw Bitcoin hit like 19K and Ethereum was up there, stable coins, you can see here that they weren't really a thing. So to be able to store your value, so say you rode Bitcoin up to 19K and you're thinking, okay, let me sell some of this. The only option was either to put it into another cryptocurrency, which is also super volatile, or to take it out altogether and put it back into fiat currency. So there wasn't really this point where you could hold your value and still be in crypto. And that's where stable coins have come in, where they reduce the volatility, but you can still get much better returns than you could in the real world. So there's two types of stable coin. There's fiat collateralized. And when I say fiat, I mean like a government currency. So they maintain reserves on a one-to-one. So if you mint a USDC coin, Circle or Coinbase, Coinbase and Circle work together to create the stable coin. They have to keep $1 in their reserves so that this USDC coin, is backed by $1. So USDC is the second largest stable coin by market cap. And then a crypto collateralized coin is a more difficult for people to describe. It's pegged to $1, but it's maintained via a blend of crypto. So for example, if you wanted to mint sort of $1,000 worth of this crypto collateralized stablecoin, they might need $3,000 of Ethereum or $4,000 of Bitcoin in order to mint that much. And if Ethereum or another coin dropped, they would be able to still, they're way over collateralized, so they would be able to pay that off to still maintain their peg. That's a little complicated, but essentially stable coins like DAI, DAI, NIM, UST, UST, those are the coins that I'm pretty confident in as far as maintaining peg. USDC coin, again, you'll see this on Coinbase. If you ever want to get into stable coins, Coinbase, you can actually buy USDC coin and there isn't a fee. So if you want to sort of play around with stable coins, you can actually just go on Coinbase. They'll swap you one for one, and then you can be in crypto. And then there's DAI coin, which is also again, crypto collateralized stable coins. This is the biggest crypto coin by MakerDAO. Again, it's complex to go into how it's made up, but they've been around the longest, and they've always been great at maintaining peg, even in market drops. So back in May, when the market sort of crashed very quickly, that was the first sort of test of all of these different like protocols and dApps. Like, okay, what happens when we have a market crash? And people that were over leveraged got liquidated, and the stable coins maintained peg. And so that was the first sort of anti-fragility, like how fragile is this? Oh, it actually worked when there was a crash. And so a lot of people had more confidence after that. Now, DeFi apps and use cases. So there is the lending marketplaces, so lending and borrowing. So again, if you think of DeFi like a traditional finance system, it's not just about, sending payments like, Venmo or whatever. It's about loans, savings, insurance, trading. So anything that you think of when you think of a financial ecosystem is on the blockchain. And one of the biggest pieces of this is lending and borrowing. So lending marketplaces are cheaper, faster. They're available to more people than traditional systems. You could literally, if you have the collateral, go on to Aave or Compound and literally borrow within minutes. Hundreds of thousands of dollars if you have the collateral. So all loans in crypto are over collateralized. So let's say you had a bunch of Bitcoin or Ethereum or another coin, and you didn't want to sell it, but you wanted to be able to extract some value from it. Well, you could put it into one of these lending protocols and be able to borrow against them. So in, I think like August of 2020, I'm looking at the price of Ethereum. It's, $380. And I'm thinking, well, I know the all-time high is like 1,500. So what if I just put my Ethereum into Aave, borrow stable coins, which is USDC, DAI coin, USD against that, and then buy more Ethereum, because I'm thinking it's like 60% down from all-time high, and now I understand the technologies, I think it's going to go higher. And so the only interest I'm paying is the interest to borrow that money. Any upside I get from buying Ethereum, I'm not actually having to give any of that up, but I am taking a risk that Ethereum will go up. So my risk is someone else's yield on their USDC coin. Whereas if Ethereum suddenly crashed, then that is my problem. That's my fault. And that person will still get their money, because what would happen is my Ethereum would be sold off, liquidated in order to pay that loan. There's no going to the government for a loan. Like, this bank is all run on code, and you borrow, you're over collateralized. If the market drops and you are way over leveraged, your stuff will get sold off, the loans will be paid back, and then the system continues. And that's just what happened in May when we saw the crash. Is, there was no like front page in the newspaper, Aave, Compound, they go to the government trying to get a loan to pay back because they were frivolous people's money. It's like, no, all the people that took risk with leverage got liquidated, and then the system continued as it should do. And again, if you took a risk and you got liquidated, that's your own fault. But nobody is going to come and save you, which is kind of what crypto is all about. So every time there's a market jump, we always see this guy. He gets rolled out. He's like, remember this guy that spent 10,000 Bitcoins for a pizza? And you feel bad for him, because like literally every bull run, it's like, that would be 2 billion now or whatever. So if these DeFi apps existed when this guy wanted a pizza, instead of having to sell 10,000 Bitcoin to get his pizza, which was then valued at $41, he could have taken a loan against it. So taken USDC, bought the pizza still had upside. And the thing about loans, not just in crypto, but in real life, is you're not paying interest on that money. So you're not paying interest when you borrow against your collateral. If you sort of exchange it and things go up, you would pay interest on that. But that's how a lot of people that have a lot of money keep their money, is they take loans out against it instead of selling it and getting hit with capital gains or things like that. So if you believe in Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever, and you don't want to sell it, but you want to get value out of it, that's where you would use something like one of these DeFi apps. So again, if you want to spend 10,000 Bitcoin on pizza, you don't have to do that. Just take a loan against it, still have that upside. And then, you know, this guy would have been sorted for pizzas forever if he had just known how to use these apps, which didn't exist then. But so anyway, next thing is trading platforms. So they're called DEXs or AMMs, which is automated market makers, but essentially it's a cryptocurrency exchange run entirely on smart contracts. So they let you trade from one token to another without involving anyone else. So it's not like Robinhood or someone like that where they have to approve trades or they can stop trading. The exchanges are complete. You don't know who you're trading with, and a lot of times it's through liquidity pools. So I'll kind of walk you through how that is, but this is how trading happens. And this was one of the biggest innovations with DeFi, is creating these sort of automated exchanges and then rewarding people for providing liquidity. So liquidity pooling is, for DeFi to work, there needs to be liquidity in the market, just like in the real world. So when you become a liquidity provider, you are kind of becoming the bank to enable trades. So for every, I think I saw my slides here. So essentially, if you think of a currency exchange at the airport, say I'm going to Europe and I need to swap into euros, then they'll give me their rate and then they take a little piece of the transaction. That's essentially what happens with liquidity pooling, is you are pooling two of your tokens together and you get a sort of you're like, okay, Ethereum, Daicoin, here is a liquidity pool, and any trades that happen between these two coins, you will get a percentage of that, of all transactions within that pool, and you're essentially becoming the bank. So in this example, a 50-50 pool, which is pretty common in DeFi, is just having two tokens pulled together. There are other options where it's like 3, but 90% of the main ones are 2. Then you get a pool token, and now you are a liquidity provider, and you're going to be rewarded as a liquidity provider. So again, a DAI ETH pool, you're providing 2 coins, and you can stake it somewhere and get more rewards, or you can just collect the exchange fees on that. So this is just an example of how, you know, anyone can get in here and become part of the liquidity for the system. Now, now that we know, like, okay, how do I get into this? Then we need to talk about wallets. So there's centralized wallets and there's decentralized wallets. Which one's the best? Decentralized, obviously. So a third-party website is the system which keeps the coins on your behalf. So Coinbase, Gemini, Robinhood, Crypto.com, they're basically holding all your coins safe for you. However, they are a centralized system. So if the US government decides, okay, this coin is now illegal, or there's any sort of intervention, or the crypto exchange is hacked, you could lose access to your coins. It's actually happened a bunch back in like 2016, these exchanges that would just be hacked, or I forget the name of the exchange. Someone died and basically was the only one with the keys, and you know, only one, who knows what happened, but basically nobody could access their money. And a decentralized wallet is when you control your wallet and are responsible for all your own coins, your keys, your security. So this is MetaMask, which is a browser extension I'll get into, Ledger, which is a hardware wallet, Trezor is a hardware wallet, but essentially you are the person, the only one that can control that. And even when you're working with it in these apps that I'm talking about, those are all decentralized. So to be able to use Aave that I talked about, or Uniswap, the exchange, you need to be able to connect your wallet. And apart from, I think there's one or two that will let you use like a Coinbase wallet, but you want to make sure it's like you're sending your stuff to a wallet where you control it. So common thing in crypto where they say not your keys, not your coins. So again, my brother-in-law back in like 2016, he was like paid someone to get crypto for him, and guess what? Didn't work out well. The guy like either never bought it or whatever. But I'm just like, crypto, like you have to control your own stuff. That's the whole point. And so that's why I tell people like, okay, get into the system on Coinbase or something like that, and then put them in a wallet where you control it, so that you're not. I think Coinbase or Crypto.com just had a hack the other day where Ethereum was taken out, and a couple of people mentioned to me they weren't able to withdraw from there currently because of some hack. I'm like, yeah, I don't keep anything sitting in there, which is why I tell people like, keep your own stuff just in case when you need it. There's no like, oh, actually you can't withdraw for 3 days. So if you want to get from fiat, again, government currency, into crypto, Crypto.com is great. Coinbase Pro, Gemini, MoonPay. And then if you're not in the US, you can use Binance. And if you are in the US, I was going to say you can use it with a VPN, but you can't get fiat into crypto with a VPN on Binance. So in order to get started, what I suggest is a crypto specific browser. And when I say crypto specific, I mean, this is a browser that I'm only using for my crypto stuff. So if you are an entrepreneur, you run your own business, or you do your own thing, like I use Chrome for that. And I don't even have my MetaMask, which is the wallet, installed on my Chrome browser, because if I accidentally click a link and it's trying to connect to my wallet, I don't even want that to forget, oh, this is not my crypto specific browser. So one thing about crypto and owning your own keys is like you really have to take care of your security. So don't, I tell people it's like, yeah, you want to be your own bank, but are you going to let people just walk into your vault or like be very careless with your security? No. So crypto specific browser with like, that's the only thing you're, going on and doing exchanges and things like that. You want your MetaMask. And then if you have any, like, once you have serious money, I would suggest getting a hardware wallet. So a Trezor or a Ledger, where basically it's like a second line of defense, just in case. So your MetaMask, if someone hacks, or somehow your seed phrase got leaked or whatever, if you have a hardware wallet connected to MetaMask, connected to an app, basically none of your keys are stored in MetaMask. It all goes through your hardware wallet, and so you have to approve every transaction. So you're not going to approve anything by something that you didn't mean that someone else is doing. And so that's why MetaMask is easy to get started, but then once you're really getting into it, I would highly recommend getting a hardware wallet. I have a Ledger, Trezors. I don't know if it's just me, but those buttons are tiny. And I put this in because, again, like I said at the start of the presentation, is building wealth is important, and females are only allowed to have bank accounts since the 1970s. So you don't want to get left behind, because we're all kind of starting on the same foot here as far as like learning and getting into the ecosystem and knowing what's possible. And I always get sort of this struggle of like, oh, is this really going to be something? And the internet, it used to be so difficult to get on the internet. You had to install software to use it. It was slow. It was easy to get your credit card stolen, and it was expensive. And there's so many quotes of, there's like a whole video I saw on YouTube of these guys are like, oh, the internet's never gonna be a thing. I can't stop trying to make it happen. Someone was like, most things that succeed don't require retraining 250 million people. This was in 1995 about the internet. You just replace, 2020 with most things, and that would be crypto. That would be getting into DeFi. And, as I've talked here, there's a lot of stuff about wallets and seed phrases and passwords and like exchanges. I know it's like steep learning curve. And what I tell people is when they're like, oh, when's it going to be easy? I'm like, you know what? When it's easy, there's going to be way less opportunity. So just like you can just go on the internet now, you can click on Facebook or Twitter, like back in, Web 1.0 days, before the Amazon, the Facebook and the Twitter and everything else, it was difficult, which is why whenever these apps and things that came out and people did really well is because they were early and they took advantage. And so that's what I tell people whenever they're like, how's this going to go? It's like, well, how did the internet go? The people that were in there at the right time, focused on it, a lot of them did really well. And so I think that's just going to be the exact same with DeFi. So the fact that you're all here watching this, I think is great. And here's another sort of adoption curve where if you compare this to the internet, like we are still so early compared to, what's going to happen if we relate to the internet. And I actually think this is going to be much bigger than the internet because it's now going to be owned by people who use it rather than these big companies. And so just, intrinsic motivation, the people that work on it are going to be working much harder on it than they would do for a company. And if you have some sort of ownership in whatever you're building, it's just completely different incentives. So I am super, super bullish, but I want to leave some time for questions. So if you've been chatting, let me know what your questions are in the chat, and we have like 10, 15 minutes to jump in.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. So one of the questions, I'll just start from one of the very first ones. So basically Betsy was asking, I'm not sure which part she was referring to, but they're like money market funds. That was kind of in the beginning, and asking, can you day trade?
You can day trade. I don't get into, I used to get more into trading last year, but now I try to find projects that I believe in and just hold them. But I know that like FTX and like Binance and other things you can trade, and there's like a whole bot system that some people use. I'm not a huge fan of that because if everyone's buying the same course to buy bots, every bot's going to be the same. It just takes like one sort of market drop for that to happen, and I've seen some people get racked on bots. So if you're trading, like don't just leave it to to bots. I would say just buying things that you believe in, and then if you think there's going to be a market drop, you could sell them. But I'm not hugely into trading. I think like the bigger opportunity for a lot of people is actually learning the ecosystem and learning projects. And you can do the trading for a bit, like I did that in 2020. But what I realized is there's actually a much bigger opportunity here than like trading coins and jumping into random projects, because your attention is split. So I didn't mention NFTs in this because I'm not an NFT expert. Like I have friends, and in DeFi and in crypto, you have things that you have to be interested in that are like very targeted. When I try to do like NFTs and all this other thing, I am like not on top or in the day-to-day enough. Like if you're not in all the Discord channels and on Twitter and like really in the weeds with this, you'll just get over traded. So unless you're going to make this your full-time thing, and you are in Discords and things like that with people that know what they're doing, I wouldn't even try to day trade, because there's always going to be someone out there that's better than you. But you can do it if you plan to put like all of your time into it.
Compared to when you first started kind of getting into this to now, how much time, like a week, do you spend on it, like then versus now? Like how long did it really take you to kind of like wrap your brain around it and say, okay, this is what's going on, to the point where, now like, what does it look like, a week in the life of you? Are you in it every day for an hour or two, or?
I'm always like, I'm not in my portfolio, like making changes all the time, but I'm always reading and learning, and I'm taking a sabbatical from e-commerce starting in like 2 weeks, because I'm thinking like all I want to do is spend my time in DeFi. I think like the opportunity cost of me not doing it is far greater, and so that's why I'm focused on it. But I think like when I was first getting into it in 2020, there was no, like it was so new, right? There was only a few projects happening. Like I didn't know how to it was all like creating a liquidity pool. Like, what did that mean? Exchanges, like Ethereum was, you know, $200 or something, and so gas prices were a lot different. So I was pretty much like stumbling along, but it was also much cheaper to figure it out back then than it is now, because now you have like expensive, like Ethereum's got much more expensive, and just it's busier, so it's easier to find information. It's more like, okay, what because everyone's trying to sell their stuff, right? And everyone's trying to, oh, this is the coin to buy. And I think one of the first things you need to understand is like, what are the fundamentals that I need to understand to be able to look at a project and understand, okay, is this creating value, or is this another sort of Ponzi scheme that I'm going to jump into? So I think you need some time to sort of explore, see what you're interested in. I got a friend into crypto like a year ago, and he did DeFi for a bit, and then he got all into NFTs. And now he's like a huge person in the NFT space, because that was what he was interested in. But he comes to me for DeFi advice and vice versa, because he told me to buy a Bored Ape at like 1 ETH. And I was busy that day and forgot. And the next day it's like, or 2 days later, I'm like, oh yeah, I have to buy that. And it's 3 ETH. And I'm like, oh, I missed it. And now they're like 75 ETH. So, you know,
which is like 250,000 or something in dollars.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, I have a similar question to Carlton, 2 questions. So what are you thinking about social tokens like creator coins, like specifically rally coins? And can you talk a little bit about that? Where does that go?
I think we're still really early in that. I mean, I've seen BitClout was the first one that you could like buy someone's coin. I haven't done a ton of that because I don't fully get it or know that it's figured out yet. A lot of things that are happening right now, it's kind of like the Beanie Baby NFT thing is like 99% of NFTs that are coming out are going to be worth nothing. But we don't know which ones are going to be we don't know which company is going to be the Facebook or the Amazon or the winner. So you really have to do your own research and figure out, okay, does this make sense? And so now, you know, after sort of, I tell people like, don't be Pokemon, like you can't catch them all. So if you're trying to get into every coin that you think you're actually just going to spread yourself too thin. So like social tokens, I don't have an answer for that yet, as far as like which one's going to be the winner. I have seen creators do interesting things with NFTs where they sort of create their own collection and then they get specific access to them that otherwise you wouldn't get. But I think we're still so early. I'm actually dropping a Twitter list in the chat that you can follow, and there are a bunch of DeFi people that I follow that are good.
That's great. You mentioned that you're taking a sabbatical from ecom, and I was going to ask you before you mentioned that, how, if at all, is it going to integrate with Best Self? Is there a way that it can integrate, or is it going to be your 2 separate things?
I mean, for now, it's 2 separate things, only because I need some space I'm also having a baby, so I couldn't do DeFi Best Self and have a baby. And I luckily have a really great team, but I think for me, like if I try to force some sort of like, how do I add crypto or tokens or something to Best Self, it would feel like almost like either, I was gonna say money grab, but I don't know if it would make money, but I don't know how I would do that in a way that made sense. And so until I figure that out, it will be totally separate.
Got it. Another question, can you reset your seed phrase if it leaks, or would you need to set up a new wallet and transfer your assets?
So if once your seed phrase locked, you have to transfer it to a new wallet. So if you're MetaMask, a friend of mine he was learning how to do Solidity development, and he somehow his seed phrase got uploaded to GitHub or something, and a bot was scraping the GitHub repository or something like that, and it was there was a spelling error, which is why it got uploaded. It was a freak accident, but anyway, someone cleaned him out of like 30K, and he can't change the seed phrase. So like he has things, they're like, oh, this token's unlocking, you know, in 2 months, but it's locked in there and I can't get to it. And so now it's like a race against time to be able to get in there and unlock it and send it to another wallet before. I'm sure the hackers doing this all the time, so they're not even like focused on some unlock in 2 months. But if your seed phrase you think gets leaked, just set up another wallet. So MetaMask, you just create another account, send everything to there. But that's, or if your seed, like if your Ledger or Trezor seed phrase, I think you would have to set up another wallet and then send everything to it. But yeah, don't ever give your seed phrase to anyone. Anyone that's asking for your seed phrase is trying to, like, nobody should ever ask you for a seed phrase. And if you ever like get phished or someone, you pop up a window and it's asking for a seed phrase, this is a scam. The only time you ever need it is when you are personally restoring your wallet or your MetaMask account. And always, again, that's why I say have a crypto specific browser that you're only doing crypto stuff in, not your everyday browser where you could accidentally click on a link and then suddenly someone's trying to get into your account. But just be like I'm like super paranoid. Like people message me on Discord that I don't know. I'm like, no, I won't even open up the message. So like, again, I'd rather be paranoid than be poor and someone's stealing money. So I think that's what I would think of.
Well, I can share a story. I got kind of screwed over because I fell for a spammer. I thought that they were Boss Beauties, and I thought that they were World of Women, and that they had a special drop, and that they were DMing me, and I was like freaking out and like trying to get my MetaMask connected and pay, and like I must have entered my password like 10 times because I was like so nervous that I was like forgetting it and like I couldn't remember. It was like the universe telling me, Lisa, don't do it. And literally the second I got it to go through, I was like, wait a second. And it's like slow motion, and I lost like $500.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't thousands, but it happened like literally like that, and it looked exactly like World of Women. They like faked the website, and right when I started kind of like checking, like looking at like FAQs, or I was getting 404 errors, like nothing worked, and the navigation worked. So it's really, if you're like excited about something, or if you're tired and not paying attention and you think you're doing something, like just step away and like think. That's my advice. Like I'm like so afraid of DMs and Discord now.
Yeah, basically like go to the official Twitter website of whatever the project is, or oftentimes you go to the official Discord, because if you're in a Discord with something, like say you're in World of Women Discord, and I guess there's like bots that will scrape the list on there and then look like they're in the same channel, and they can change everything to look like it's from them. But yeah, it's just really, you have to be super, super diligent. I've just rugged myself where I get excited about something and I'm like, I buy some stupid token and then I'm like, oh, that was dumb. But yeah, just be like super careful. And people ask me, oh, why don't, I use Brave for my, usually for my browser for crypto. There's a Brave wallet. So instead of using MetaMask, use Brave. And people ask like, why don't you use Brave? And I'm like, well, MetaMask is sort of industry standard, and I'd rather go with them than a wallet that was just created or introduced as a product 3 to 6 months ago. So, and then another thing I tell people is to don't download extensions on your browser other than your wallet. So you have your MetaMask, you might, and then maybe you have a Solana wallet, whatever, but don't have like a random extension. So say, for example, you're like, oh, I want to be able to transact on Ethereum when gas is low. So you're like, oh, I'm going to be really productive. I'm going to get a gas tracker browser extension on the, Chrome, Google Store, or whatever. Because what happens is, like, if I'm a hacker, where would I find these people? It would be people that would download this extension because that they have a browser wallet installed, and a lot of times with these sort of apps, they're either started by someone who just really wants to know what the gas price is, but then they don't keep it up, and then someone comes along and buys it off them because they're either, they have, they're a bad actor and they have bad intentions, or they're a hacker and they're like, oh, what would be a great product to create that would lure in people that I could hack is an extension like that. So, again, you can't be too paranoid. Just be very careful when you're your own bank. You want to make sure that you're taking every precaution possible.
You mentioned using I think it's called the hard wallet or the hard disk wallet, and you have to
Hardware
approve
wallet.
it. Hardware wallet, yes.
Yeah,
So I don't have that yet. So if you have it, how do you approve it? Like, is it an email or a text or?
No, it literally pops up on. So this is my hardware wallet.
Okay.
And it literally
it's like a hard drive
on this. Yeah, it looks like a little USB drive, and you put your PIN in it, and then the MetaMask will basically interact with this. So you can confirm it in MetaMask, but until you confirm it in your hardware wallet, nothing will happen. So once you just literally, like, you're pressing a button, it tells you in these little tiny digits like what it is, and you click through and then you approve it. Joshua was saying make sure to only buy hardware wallets on the official hardware store. Totally couldn't agree more. So buy it on ledger.com or trezor.com, because like Amazon FBA, I'm like, you're literally buying something to put all of your money in. Like 95% of the time you're going to be fine, but like, why even risk it? So that's why, buy it from the official company, and not don't buy it on eBay. Don't like buy it on someone on Facebook Marketplace. Like, only buy it from the official source.
What if you lose that? Is it possible? Do you like put it in a safe deposit box or?
So if you lose this, you have a seed phrase. So you could just buy another ledger and then recover your wallet from the seed phrase. And it's usually like a 24 word seed phrase. So MetaMask is usually like 8 or 12 or 16 or something. And then and make sure you're not, sharing that with anyone. Write it on a piece of paper. You could break it up into several pieces of paper, put it around your house. One password, you can create encrypted notes, and you can put half of it there and half of it somewhere else. Again, I'm paranoid AF, but just do your best. Let me see if I missed any questions.
One more question from Joshua. Have you seen any risks associated with the paid BAT ads on Brave browser being phishing attempts? He feels like this is a potential threat waiting to happen.
I mean, I'm sure it is. I haven't heard anything, but I don't know anyone that uses a Brave wallet. So again, that's something that I just said was like, I don't want to put my money in something that was only like someone that's only just getting into wallets right now. So for the longest time, I think I had 100K in my MetaMask wallet before I got a hardware wallet, which is dumb when I look back at it. But a hardware wallet is more annoying. So MetaMask is easy. You just like click, 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 and you're good. But when you realize like you need a second line of defense. So if someone hacks my MetaMask, I can just start a new one because everything's on my hardware wallet.
Okay, one more question. Betsy asks, can I use my MetaMask wallet for NFT and crypto and have everything stored in one place?
Yes, you can use your MetaMask wallet will store like Ethereum, like NFTs are stored on your wallet. So if it's on Ethereum, it's on your Ethereum wallet. If it's on Avalanche, it's on your Avalanche wallet, and that can all be run through MetaMask. And then you can see everything on your wallet. If you go to zapper.fi, you can, that's like a dashboard where you can connect your wallet and you can see everything in there. And you can actually like do transactions on there if you want. You can actually put, if you go to zapper.fi, you can put any wallet address in there, and it's kind of like a user-friendly version of Etherscadan, where it's almost like you're just reading someone's account like it's a bank account.
Awesome. Well, definitely take Cathryn's course. We'll put the links. I know that it's in the speaker panel, and follow her on Twitter. And Cathryn, thank you so much, and congratulations on your baby and your success and so many different aspects of your life. It's very exciting. And a little offer here that will
I put it in. I just put a 25% off code. You can just use the code disruption, and it's just 0 to defi.com.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Cathryn. This has been really mind-blowing, and I hope it's inspiring to every female disruptor out there to get involved and just, learn as quick as you can. And I totally agree, like being first and being an early adopter is when you're going to have the most opportunity.
Awesome. And I'm trying to close out of this. I also put new stuff I'm getting into on my YouTube channel. So if you're wanting like the course, you can get into it if you want to. And then this is just a bunch of free content I put out like once or twice a week. We'll see when I have the baby, but I'm still going to go for at least once a week.
Well, they're definitely very good. I watch the YouTube videos all the time, so I recommend them to everybody. She makes it really simple, and you can watch them again and again if you don't understand. So thank you so much for being a female disruptor, and good luck with everything, Cathryn.
Thanks, Lisa. This is awesome.
Thank you.